all putting in the work, and I'm really happy about that. Okay? Just keep showing up. Keep coming to meetings. That's how this thing works. Okay? Okay, and I see we have a new person at our meeting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Actually, I have an activity we can all do together. We should go to Plastic City Comic-Con. There's just so much to do there. There's comic books, toys, games, anything you can ask for.
Wait, do you work for Plastic City Comic-Con?
Me? Work for Plastic City Comic-Con?
But we're all going to Plastic City Comic-Con, right? I thought so. Now, who here owes me money?
PlasticCityComicCon.com for info and tickets.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of Mighty Mascots and promoter for Plastic City Comic-Con.
We just need some real alignment real quick.
Oh my
just
God,
a second.
Yeah, it's messing me up here. There we go. Oh my God. I'm like, my head's too big for this thing.
It's pretty you were like watcher. You were like pretty watcher. Very dramatic opening.
All right,
take two. Watching over us.
Yeah. Right. Take two. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots and promoter for the Plastic City Comic-Con. With me, as always, Johnny C., creator of Sartana, Surrounded by Death, and The Pond. For who, Johnny?
For my good cousin, Roger Morocco.
Awesome. And our third co-host, Harry G., graphic artist extraordinaire.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. We're here for a bonus episode this week.
I know.
In a row. We never do 2 days in a row, Johnny.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
It is. Tell everybody in the audience why we're doing a special episode today.
Well, we have some very, very special guests that are on the show tonight. And if you grew up during the era of comics in the 90s like I did, then you're probably pretty familiar with the character that we're going to be talking about tonight and talking about the creators who came up with this character. But we are very, very lucky this evening to have Steven Stern and once again, Bill Mouse.
Yes. And yeah, it's funny you talk about that indie circles. The 80s in the indies was like, I mean, we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We had all the offshoots of that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's indie comics were so huge in the 80s and Zen
going into the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're still huge, in every era, but it feels like there was such a creative spurt in the 80s for indie books. And Zen the Intergalactic Ninja was in the middle of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And the character actually broke out of the comic pages into other things like games and toys and everything. So it was really cool. So it's really nice to be able to talk to, the creator of Zen and also the artist that worked on a lot of Zen as well, so it's great. So I'm gonna, skip our normal banter that we do for the first 10 minutes of the show and bring our guests right in.
Let's do this.
So let's start with our good friend Bill Mouse, who's been on the show many, many times. What's up, Bill?
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, how are you? Bill, welcome
awesome,
back,
man.
Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'll try to break up my my radio voice.
Yeah, and then you also said in the green room that you'll probably be sketching a little bit tonight.
Yeah. I'm going to be drawing, and because we have Steve Stern, we got the writer, and so he's going to be talking a whole lot more than me. I'm built for pictures, so I'm not. I'm not long for words.
Yeah, right. And without further ado, since you mentioned the name, let's bring in Mr. Steve Stern.
What's Steve doing here?
Hey, guy.
What are the odds?
Gentlemen, Keith,
Steve,
Harry,
awesome.
Johnny,
hey, how are you?
Nice to meet all of you.
Same here, actually. Likewise. Thanks for taking the time to come on the show. We greatly appreciate having you.
Well, listen, we appreciate it because, you're here giving additional exposure and support to Zen and the current Kickstarter we're doing. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
We're definitely going to take a look at the Kickstarter later in the show. But
yeah.
since Steve, since you're the first, first appearance on Indie Comics Relay, we always ask our guests like a question. The same question we always ask is how you found your way into comics. Like, was there like a comic you read that inspired you that wanted to be a writer or creator of comics? Could you point to one that?
Oh, yeah. Well, as I warned you in our little pre-discussion, since I created Zen along with artist Dan Cody 37 years ago, I've done a few conventions and podcasts and live streams. So my problem is I don't know when to stop talking.
Perfect.
But I'm going to try to be as concise as possible tonight. So let me specifically answer your question. I'm 7 years old.
Okay.
I'm in the Bronx with my parents visiting my maternal grandmother.
You look very mature for 7.
I know. He
Exactly.
must be a leap year baby.
And the elevated train ran on something typically called the L, elevated train track in the Bronx going through all the boroughs. So at the bottom of virtually every station, there's something called a newsstand, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the newsstand sold comic books. So I was getting fidgety that day, and kind of a intellectual kid liking to read. So my parents buy me a comic book, and it's Superboy.
Okay.
And so I opened this comic book, and the phenomenon that occurs is akin to love at first sight, or having an aneurysm in your brain.
Something happened.
I
Kryptonian aneurysm.
There was movement.
I opened this thing up, at bright 4-color book with the spandex-clad kid that I immediately identify with. I mean, instantaneously. And from that moment on, I never looked back. I read every comic book I could get my hands on. I would do crazy things like feign being ill, stay home from school, and tell my mother to go to the newsstand and get me the next issue of Aquaman, which is out today.
Awesome. That is awesome.
And so that was how it happened. And I was just a totally voracious reader of every comic book I could get my hands on. And these many decades later, this is what I do for a living. It's
That's it.
it's like a dream.
It was right the right character. It was a young character, it was a kid character, and it hit you as a kid. That's the lightning in the bottle. It makes you want to be in the story, want to be part of the story.
Now you see why those they put those teen characters in comics, because
that's just it. That's Robin's point of existing, right? So that way,
I mean, even like when you look at like the 80s cartoons, and we know all those those little characters are so annoying. Like even with the Aquaman cartoon, remember the Filmation Aquaman cartoon? They had Tusky, the walrus that was so annoying.
I actually love that version of Aquaman.
I do too. But like they have that in there because the kids identify with that stuff so well.
You can't just cater to like the exact same audience as your comic book character ages. So I wouldn't want my Batman. I'm glad that they make Batman books that are still catering to my age group as I age. More sophisticated stories. Like I was at the perfect age when Frank Miller came out with Dark Knight Returns.
Same,
because it was like it blew my mind, right? Because I was like, wait a minute, it's like these characters are actually doing something that has consequences. They're older. They're going through all this crap, but it's not the right kind of book for to capture a younger audience. So I'm glad that they continue cycling. They have books for younger readers. They have books for it's almost like I almost get not upset, but I get a little confused when I watch a YouTube show or read an article or whatever where somebody is kind of complaining about, like this particular property, they're ruining it. It's not, it might just not be geared towards that age group.
Right.
It's not that it's awful. It's just not for you.
Yeah,
and hopefully that they're making, like Batman is a good example. There's always material out there that's good for the adults. There's always material out there that's good for kids.
It's always a bonus too when they do make like a comic for a specific audience.
Right,
but if it's done well, it kind of traverses all those.
Oh, that's the best.
I love when they
that's
do
the
that.
best. Yeah.
I mean, I think right now you can point to Ultimate Spider-Man, right? Where it's very niche. They've aged Spider-Man up. He's got a family. Like kids who were reading Ultimate Spider-Man when they were teenagers when that came out are now perfectly aged into that book.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right. It takes a special something.
Love it.
Yeah, it takes a special something. It's like there's a lot of animated stuff that's like that. It's across the board. There's something in it for everybody.
Or even like X-Men '97 right now is like.
It's on my list. I haven't started watching it yet.
I haven't seen it
but
yet.
it's like I'm so happy that there's good reviews for that because how everybody was talking kind of trash about it before it came out.
Yeah,
it's just like Rogue's butt isn't as sexy as. It's like, as a little kid in the actual '90s, I knew we were getting away with murder. Come on, that was actually, this is for kids, So this is the design I expected to have on the characters, So I'm glad that I heard a lot of good things about that show. Yeah, it's on my list. It's on my list.
I highly recommend it.
That, and I'm hearing the new Fallout is unbelievable too.
I've seen the first couple of episodes. It is awesome.
It is awesome.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, I'm up to the second episode. I love it so far.
I love me some Walt Goggins. So
Walt Goggins.
I'll watch anything that guy's in. So
he does a good job as the Ghoul. I love him.
Yeah, I can't wait to do it.
As soon as
and that's
have him show up on Justified like that.
Yeah, Jonathan Nolan. That's right.
Right?
Nolan, yeah. And a lot of other people, obviously.
Yeah, but it also he brings a certain level of like gravitas to it, right? Where in anybody else's hands it could have been just a comic video game adaptation.
Video game, right?
Yeah, he made it really like good. Like,
that's cool. He put,
a lot of effort and
it's tremendous.
It shows,
Yeah, people got their stamps, man. It's like you can recognize what different people bring to the table when they're producing something and making something. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and stuff like that when the love is put into it really helps.
God, yeah.
So but I mean that's awesome. I love that answer, Steve. Like I think that might be the first time someone said Superboy on our show. We've gotten Superman a couple times, but not Superboy, so that's interesting. But so what when did you make the leap from fan to like comic writer, like when you wanted to dip your toes into this industry? When did that happen?
Well, that happened way back in the day, of course. I started writing, my first published stories were for black and white horror type magazines called Nightmare and Psycho. Okay. The company that published them was Skywald. Okay, they were located in Midtown Manhattan. What would happen was you would write a little synopsis, like a one-page synopsis. Now, this, of course, is way before the day of internet, email, all that jazz, right? So you would go to their office, and I was living in the city at that time. You'd go to their office and you'd drop off your synopses, right? Then what would happen is the artists that they worked with would go to their offices, review all the available synopses, and if an artist sparked to your story, they would then have you write it, okay, the script, because synopsis was not a script, obviously. So I was very fortunate. The very first person who selected a story of mine was Jeff Jones.
Okay.
Jeff Jones, who had that strip in National Lampoon on the last page of the Lampoon called Idle, or IDYL. Okay, this goes back. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
And Jeff did illustrated the first story I had published, which was called Sleep. Okay. The second artist who sparked to a story I wrote called The Cosmos Strain was William Michael Kaluta.
Oh, okay.
who went on to do The Shadow.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And so those two stories were published. I also had a bunch of stories in these black and white horror magazines published by the Countrywide company called like Witches' Tales. And the first story I had in there was called Eat the Flesh, Drink the Blood. So you can imagine it was kind of a vampire-ish, werewolf stories, right? So I had a bunch of that stuff over the years. And so that was my first published stuff. And I got to tell you, the first time I saw that like sleep story, and the first thing, just blew my mind. I think it took me a week to recover from the fact that an actual publisher with astonishing art, Jeff Jones, by the way, he became a transgender person. He became a woman.
Okay.
And you can look it up and see what was very, very interesting. And he passed away. She passed away many, many years ago. But I remember it was very interesting because I was living on the east side of Manhattan, and his studio was on the west side. And I remember that day, certain things like you never forget, right? I remember it was a gorgeous, sunny spring day, and I walked through Central Park. Of course, during the day, you could do that. You don't do it at night, right? And I remember walking across Central Park and meeting Jeff in his amazing studio on the west side to discuss my story, after I had written the script for it. And again, there's just certain key things, and there's plenty more I'll get to as we go along here. Certain key things I'm sure all of us have in our lives that are just indelibly etched into our brains. And, that's a day I'll never forget. And it certainly inspired me to keep working in the industry. Yeah.
Did you know him as a woman later on in life, or?
No, did not.
It's funny how like the perfect recipe for creativity could be just like the perfect weather on the right day, taking the right walk, and then all of a sudden inspiration hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny what you remember too about certain things. It might not actually be like the work
strong
itself.
Points.
It's just like you got stung by a bee or something. You just remember like the details on the side. Or
I remember falling down this flight of steps and I said, "Steve, I need a job. I broke my ankle and I can't draw with my foot."
Oh, that's awesome.
You never know. I mean, it's like you never know what's going to hit. I mean, but I understand that feeling, Steve, that you get when you see your work being published, especially like the early days of being published, the early days of having your work put out there. It's like when we were publishing our things for the first time, and just seeing the book I would sneak into the comic shop. Nobody knew who I was, and I just sneak in and out, whatever, just walk in and out. Granted, nobody would know who I was. I'm just this kid who draws comics in his house, so, but I would stand there, and if I would see my books up on the shelf, and that was already enough of a high.
Yeah,
that was already my crack pipe. I'm just sitting there going, it's like, even if nobody bought the book, I'm just like, it's on the shelf.
Oh yeah, who cares if anybody bought it?
That's way further than so many people get or whatever. It's like it's just patting myself on the back. I'll take my wins where I can. So that was like that was my drug.
Does anyone here think that they were born too early or too late in life? Like would you go back? You know what I mean? Like no, seriously. Like back in the heyday of comics when it first was happen or a new thing. Wouldn't you want to?
These guys lived through the first I think like the big indie boom of the 80s and 90s. Like I wish I was more with it. I would have loved to make comics.
Well, see, okay. I wish I was more with it when I was actually starting out, because it's like when we started self-publishing, when we co-founded Entity Comics and started publishing Zen, that's when Image Comics just formed and came together and was like blowing doors, right? So this whole energy about independent comic books and independent comic book support was huge. It was really huge.
I remember that.
And I wish that I was networking more. I wish that I was actually, I've met more people since and I'm closer to way more people since we've started live streaming, since
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. In the 20 years of going to shows, I would go to the show, and then you're so busy working your table and doing your things. And then I'm so busy when I get back home, and then I'm not really staying in touch with everybody. This is like sort of pre-email, everybody texting each other and staying in touch the way that we do now. Like with Twitter and with Facebook, it's like I get a hold of people like this, and I could have been friends with that person 20 years earlier because we had tables next to each other, at Comic-Cons, like constantly all year long. It's like, but it was just so easy to lose track of people, back then.
It's almost a testament that when you show up to a Comic-Con, you're working, right? So it's like you kind of like focus on work, you kind of stay in your zone. It's like, and you lose sight of socializing. It's almost kind of like why I like the pre-setup at a convention.
Oh yeah,
because like
sure.
you're all commiserating, putting your booth together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like who's got a zip tie, who's got the, you know what I mean? And that's where you kind of find those bonds, Well,
that's how I met people like Neil Adams. He was just walking around the show. It was like we were setting up. He came by our table, and all of us were just like, "Wait, you're hanging out with us while we're setting up? This is pretty dope." We took a picture, we hung out, we talked for a while. He did a show here locally where I got my cousin Keith, another Keith. To help him out at his table. And Keith is my cousin Keith is a huge fan for years and years. So I was just so happy that I can like make that connection. And Neil was happy. It was just really, really cool to connect with people before and after a show. And it's just weird little ways.
I have a Neil Adams story. You want to hear it?
Love it. Let's hear it.
All right. So at one point, I was the advertising manager. My background is in advertising and marketing and public relations. At one point, I was the advertising manager of the Singer Sewing Machine Company.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, that company did or probably still does a lot more stuff than just sewing machines. You just don't know about it. They do furniture and all kinds of stuff, right? So anyway, I was their advertising manager. And it turned out that, and this in New York City again, Neil Adams had a studio. It was called Continuity Studios, right? Remember, he did Continuity Comics.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
But he did a lot of advertising artwork. So I wanted to meet him in the worst way. So you know what I did? I contracted with him. He redrew the entire line of Singer sewing machines.
That's
kidding.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And his work was great, but I did it specifically so I could meet Neil Adams. I remember going to his office in Midtown Manhattan, discussing the work, which he gladly took on because Singer was paying the going rate, Yeah, that's how I met Neil Adams. And many times over the years, I would run into him at conventions, and we always would laugh about it.
Now, Steve, do you have the original artwork for that Singer advertisement?
I probably have in my vast collection of stuff copies of. Yeah, probably do.
Oh man, that's probably worth a fortune,
right?
You could pay for a couple of college educations with that, maybe.
Yeah, you could sell that and split the money with your friend Bill.
I would only have copies of the ads. The Singer Sewing Machine Company owned all the artwork, not me. No, but that's how I met.
But that's cool. That's cool. It's cool to know that. It's always cool when I find out that an artist that you think really only focuses on one genre or one staple that they're really known for is actually like doing lots of different types of art. Lots of different types of work.
Yeah,
that's great. Really
cool. Because that's how I've been able to make it.
Making a living.
You're making a living. So
did you sneak a superhero into the ad at all, or anything like that? Or
I wish I could have, but no.
That would have been cool. Like Batman using.
I had too high.
I know,
right?
High
position in the Singer
Somehow the sewing machine was scowling. I don't know how he did it, but it was scowling.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, there's one other artist. So Mike Kaluta does a story of mine, right? Okay. I go meet him. He also lived in the city. Meet him at his apartment. He had a roommate. You know who that was? Charlie Vess. Charlie
Oh
Vest.
my God, Charlie
Right.
Vest.
And what did I
artist.
do? And what did I do with Charlie? I had him do the Singer Company Christmas brochure.
That's
Hey, man, you gotta
all
go
the
out there.
artwork
That's
from
how you
the
meet
Singer
people.
Company is all
And let me
comic.
tell you something.
I know,
I
right?
could dig that out. Not that I'm going to do it now. I have that. I treasure that
God.
brochure. It was
Didn't know there was a
gorgeous.
comic book artist bullpen at the old Singer
Oh,
Company.
really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
man,
This
that's
is
wild.
long before Stardust and all the other amazing things Charlie did. But I was early on utilizing whatever juice I had to get to know these
Sure.
guys and to develop a relationship with them. Yeah.
That's really clever, Steve. Man, talk about
Thank
really
you.
you really bulldogged your way in that way, right? You
That's-
found any which way you could. I like
Johnny, story of my life, man. Story of my life, and I'm still doing it.
that.
I'm
You
still
kind of
doing
have
it.
to, right?
Yeah, God, yeah.
Yeah, art is
That's-
a difficult business. I mean, you got to do what you can.
Yeah.
You got to grab things when you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
That's
Those are
really
great
awesome.
stories.
I love that.
Yeah.
That
I
is
haven't. I
awesome.
don't think I ever told I've told the Neil Adams story. This is the first time I think I've ever
An
in
exclusive.
public told the Charlie Vest story.
Great.
That's too
Yeah.
cool. I wish I
Yeah,
could
you
find
should-
a way to marry my day job and comics. They're two different things, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm very innovative.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So you got to mix it up. Got to mix it up.
And so, like Steve, did you create any other comics before Zen? Like, was there other stuff you were working on before Zen came around?
Not really. No.
Okay.
What happened is, after I did, and you'll find out when we get there exactly how Zen came to be. Okay, but after I had those black and white stories by Skywald and Countrywide published, I got married. I had to buy a house. I had a big job at the Singer Sewing Machine Company. So comics went on the back burner for
Okay.
quite
Life
a while.
gets in the way, right?
Until
Yeah.
the perfect storm
Until life
occurred.
finds a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were working crazy, and then what was the turning point?
Sorry, I kind of cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, so you're working like this crazy schedule, and then all of a sudden, when did the turning point happen?
For
Like,
Zen?
what year was this?
For Zen, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So here's that story. Okay. All right.
Let's hear it.
So now you remember I would write these one-page synopses that I would hand in at Skywald, right? Well, one of them was called Zen, and it was about an alien, but no artist spark to it. So Hershey gave me back that story, that little synopsis, right? Okay, I put it in a suitcase, as it actually turned out, and my wife and I moved to the state of Maine, okay, where we lived for about 5-6 years in the mid to late 1980s, right? So I was running my ad agency up there. By this time I had my own advertising agency, and one day I go to a new potential client, which is Cody's Old Fashioned Ice Cream. Now, in Yankee Magazine, which is like the arbiter of all things cool and important in New England, because you guys are in New England,
Right.
Yankee Magazine calls Cody's Ice Cream, quote unquote, the best damned ice cream in New England.
Okay.
This is Yankee Magazine. You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
So this was serious ice cream, right? All right. So I go to the office of the co-owner, Nancy Cody, and I see in her, and we're talking about maybe me doing all of her advertising, including television, which we did. And I see these pen and ink intricate drawings festooned around her office. And I say, hey, Nancy, who did those? They're really cool. She says, Steve, my son Dan did those. And I'll tell you what, Steve, if you utilize Dan as the artist on our newspaper and magazine ads, you can have the account. So not being stupid and loving his art anyway. So yes, Nancy, done deal. Okay.
Okay.
So I get the account. A few days later, I go and I meet Dan. He's upstairs in his house in the attic, airbrushing. The old-fashioned, the real airbrush, right? He's doing some artwork, wild-looking stuff. He was a big fan of Roger Dean's album covers, and that was all really phantasmagoric, hallucinatory, wild-looking stuff, right? So Dan and I were talking, and I mentioned to him, among other things, that I used to do comic books, and he says, "Comic books? I always wanted to work on a comic book." Now, that morning, before I went to see Nancy, the aforementioned suitcase this is all true, the aforementioned suitcase that I put that one-page Zen synopsis in fell and cracked open, and I swear to God, out flies that piece of paper with Zen on it, right? So I say, Dan, I think I've got a story you'd like to work on. That is how Zen Intergalactic Ninja came to be.
Wow.
Totally serendipitous, which, by the way, seems to be the way my entire life has worked out. Okay. Nothing
movie.
I've ever planned.
I was going to say, this is a biopic. You got to sell your life rights, Steve.
I know.
To some filmmaker so they can make this story.
I know, directed by Ron Howard.
That's a movie scene. The
I know,
suitcase
it is.
falling, cracking open, the artist discovering the page. Like, oh my God, this is
Almost
amazing.
as if Zen himself jumped out of the suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can see the movie now too.
Here's
It's
a
got
real-
like
here's a real
animated
question.
sequences
About movies, too.
featuring Zen. Oh, fantastic!
It's crazy, right? And so that's how that happened. So Dan, took the next year. I wrote the script up real fast, and Dan took the next year to gorgeously, in full color, airbrush that book. Okay.
Oh, cool.
However, when we went to the printer, because we self-published it, right? When we went to the printer up there in Auburn, Maine, and we got the price quotes to do a full color book, it was very expensive. Now, at the time, the Turtles had been around for just a little while. And there was this thing happening in the comic industry, which you guys may or may not recall, called the black and white explosion. That's what they called it. And it was precipitated by the Turtles and other books, right? So when we found out it would be so much cheaper to just print the book in black and white, that's what we did. And it turned out to be an okay move, because not only did it save us money, but it got us, I think, about 3,500 orders from Diamond back in that day for a little indie comic out of nowhere. We called ourselves Zen Comics. We incorporated. And that's how it started.
Wow. That's
November 1987
87.
was Zen Intergalactic Ninja #1.
Wow.
And now 37 years later, I'm still doing it.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
What a great story.
You can find a copy
other
of
than the
eBay.
price.
You can find a copy of #1 on eBay right now for $350.
Yeah, and that's
Isn't that
cheap.
crazy?
It
Yeah,
has
I
sold,
just shared the link in the private chat. Keith, you
Yeah.
want to pull it up?
Yeah,
it has
yeah.
it has sold for over $4,000 in the past. That
Wow.
book, yeah.
Yeah.
Highly
that crazy?
graded with my signature on it. I remember
Yeah.
that.
So I wanted to take a look at Dan Cody's art, because you mentioned it was, he kind of had the airbrush style, and I can see
yeah.
the difference. It's beautiful, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Check it
Oh,
out.
yeah,
I'll look at that.
cover. Yeah,
Yeah, look at
Yeah,
that.
that's the class. That's the classic Zen, man. That's the classic. That's the deal.
yeah.
Wow.
That's
And
Oh, look,
there's
it's
the
a
old
signed
school.
one by you too. You and Dan.
Yeah,
Cool. Look at that.
it's a good deal, that issue, by the way. That's because there's probably a few others on there for a bit more, I think.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love seeing stuff like that too, just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, really
But
good.
years later, 10 years later, we published the commemorative edition of Zen #1, and that time we published it in full color. And our current publisher, which is First Comics,
Yeah.
did an anthology book called The Best of Zen, and in it too is the full color version of that book, which is still just iconic what Dan did.
The one thing I always thought was interesting about the name Zen the Intergalactic Ninja, it's like ninjas are so violent, but then this character has like the Zen, like, you know, like he's so like the meditation. Was there a reason you did like that blending of violence and serenity, I guess? Or
The reason I called him Zen was I was a big adherent of the philosophy of Zen Buddhism.
Okay.
And still am, because I think, you know, it's not the religion of Buddhism, but Zen Buddhism is typically termed a philosophy. Yeah. And, you know, to me, it's the greatest, because it's very earthbound. It's very totally in the moment, you know, be here now. Don't let things razzle and dazzle and frazzle you, okay? And that's what I put into Zen's character. You know, why do you think this guy has lasted this long? I think there are two reasons. One is it's just that blue body of his, that blue aspect that Dan created, that just, you know, is so attractive to so many people. But the other thing is his mentality, how he operates. Zen is you know, despite the fact that he's kind of violent and all that, which is a controlled form of violence because he's a ninja, but he also is an adherent of, you know, my version of Zen Buddhism, and that's why he communicates mentally with Master Sattva, who raised him on the planet Om. We can discuss that later. So, you know, he's just a character that was a blessing to me, that just came together in the right way, and that's why he's clearly going to outlive me. I mean, I know this guy's going to be around like forever.
That's awesome. And that's all we can ask for as creators, is like that, you know, we're immortal through our creations, you know, and like, that is a cool, I think you're right. I think Zen will be around, you know, for a long time, you know.
Oh,
so that's great, you know.
And we mere mortals are not around for all that long, you know. You know, when you think of, like, you know, Stan Lee's who hasn't passed, Curb, you know.
Right.
So,
right.
you know, and their characters and their creations.
There's no cure for it yet.
Go on forever.
Thanks.
Soon as they fix that one, I'm good.
Right.
The other thing that too is interesting too is, like, I think you were hitting it. This comic hit too when, if you think about the movies that were out at the time, there was a ton of ninja, like Golan and Globus made a career off of putting out like ninja movies, you know, and I remember them fondly as a kid, like Revenge of the Ninja,
American
Ninja, and all that stuff.
Chris Farley, the Great White Ninja.
Yeah,
Beverly Hills Ninja.
that was later on. That was mid '90s, I think. But the late '80s, like mid to late '80s, was like the ninja craze in the U.S.
Blind
too,
Fury.
You know? Yeah.
Oh,
did that have
so
any?
dope?
Did that have any like? Too, Steve, or were you into the ninja movies as well? Or
Well, not only was I, but you may or may not know that Zen was optioned twice for film and once for animation. Right?
oh, well, no kidding.
You know, options are great. They give you some money, which you keep regardless of whether or not during the option period, where they have exclusivity to develop a film or a TV show. And the Ruby Spears Company had the option to do animation. Cool. They went out of business before they could ever produce it. But we were so far along that in the trades, like Hollywood Reporter, there are ads. Shoot. There were ads for the animated series. And film-wise, we were optioned twice. One by a company called
Nope.
Oh, jeez.
No, we lost him.
here from France, right?
Oh, wait, back up, Steve. You linked out.
Can you back it up? We lost you there for a second.
A company from China called Eight Celestials. They both optioned Zen. The Cena Reeves movie had already gone so far as to attach the director Brian Usna, who was on, you know, who did Reanimator. And
did
other stuff.
He did. He made that Tim Vigil movie
and,
too.
You know, he became a great friend. But, you know, a lot of things in Hollywood, they get to a certain stage of development and then they don't happen. Mm-hmm. The beauty part of this is, however, because there hasn't as yet been Zen animation or film, we still have the field open to do it now.
That's cool.
And animation's gotten so much better now.
In both of those areas. Now, again, whether or not it's going to happen, we don't know.
Oh, I
But
hope.
believe
it does.
me, if and when it does happen, everyone will know.
Yeah.
So, Steve, you said Brian
I've
used.
lost the audio for some
Oh,
reason.
can you?
That's what happened. Okay.
I
Yeah.
wonder if it's
I,
me.
I was just like, okay, it's either a delay
Yeah,
or something went out.
Can you hear? No.
Yeah.
Let me see. That's weird. I've lost.
Look, Zen
audio.
is saying, "Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?"
Let me. I wonder why that would be.
Can you
How
hear
about
us,
now?
Steve? Can you
No.
hear us?
Can you hear us, Steve? No.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
You might want to go. Maybe try to go out and come back in again.
I'll go off
Like
and
that?
come back on. Maybe. Hold on.
Yeah, try that.
That's a good trick.
That do anything?
How
That do
exciting,
anything?
though.
I'll go off and come back on. Is that? Can
Yeah,
you hear
try
me?
that,
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, try that.
Let
Try
me
that.
do that.
Yeah.
Charades. It's like, okay, land the plane this way. Go left, left.
My
Turn
left.
off your computer.
Your left. My
Come
pass.
back in.
Let me see if I can let me take him from the studio because I think he was still there from the looks of it.
He'll sign back in.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
get back in.
But
So
man,
something
that way it's
happened,
from
there was
scratch,
like a
yeah.
blip, and then he couldn't hear us. And
Yeah.
He had a moment of zen. He'll be back.
To stay on theme.
How exciting, though,
Harry's
to
here
be a
always.
creator
Yeah.
around that time and to see your work evolve and get picked up and to get noticed and, to garner interest like that. It's so amazing.
Hey, Bill, I forget what you said last time. Are you more of a traditional artist, or do you do digital at all, or just?
I do both. I've been I'm one of those kids that
You hear us,
I've been waiting for computers to catch up to what I thought they'd be able to do. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
there's half of my brain that's 100%. I need to be old school. I
Yep.
need to actually hold an original in my hands that I
Right,
can
yep.
actually. If I sell it to somebody, they know that this is the original. For better or worse, this is the original.
Yep.
But at the same time, I love doing digital artwork. I love inking digitally. Maybe I meet some things in the middle of the road where I'll pencil it traditionally, and I'll go ahead and ink it digitally. So that way, I'm sort of like satisfying both of my my paradoxical needs.
Yep.
can you hear us, Steve?
Steve, how
Yes.
can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
You know
Okay,
what
just
I
a
think
just a
happened?
glitch.
Well, I'm on my phone, right? And someone had tried to call, a call
Oh,
came through, and I
yeah.
think that just threw everything off.
Yeah, there was like
Sure.
a blip or something, and then you came back. And
Maybe it was Hollywood
hear.
calling you.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
Steve was
Steve, I can see
abducted.
you on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we're
Don't let him
blipped
take
out.
you, Steve.
Yeah, right. We're blipped out. You were telling us a little bit about the movie options,
Yeah.
and you had mentioned. I think it blipped out right there, so we didn't know who you mentioned like that had picked it up. If you want to go over that again, real quick.
Well, all right. What I'll tell you is this. First Comics has been publishing Zen since 2011.
Okay.
Okay. And the founder of First Comics is a fella named Ken F. Levin, Levin.
Okay.
If you watch The Boys, a massive hit on Amazon Prime, you'll see that Ken is an executive producer.
Oh, cool.
Ken represents Garth Ennis, and he brought that property to them. And before that, he took Garth's other property, Preacher, to AMC. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
So Ken is now the man who has Zen in his hands.
Oh, cool.
And so, in other words, Ken is, in addition to my publisher, he's my manager.
Okay.
And I couldn't think of a better, cooler, nicer person to, take Zen and try to navigate the crazy Hollywood maze, right? Something else I'll mention about Ken. Do you remember this A-lister movie from a decade or more ago called Road to Perdition?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
with Tom
Yeah.
Hanks and
With Hanks and Paul Newman and Jude Law, right?
Based
Now,
on a
do you
graphic novel.
That exactly right. And that graphic novel was written by Max Allan Collins,
Yep, I remember that.
who Ken also represents, and Ken brought that property to Steven Spielberg.
No kidding. Oh wow.
So Ken's a good. So if Zen had to be in somebody's hands, why not Ken's? That's
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
way I look at it. And again, I'm kind of a fatalist about things because of all the ups and downs I've had in my life, and with Zen, up and down, and the serendipitous nature of things. I just believe if something's going to happen, it's going to happen, and if it ain't going to happen, it ain't going to happen. So
Yeah,
can't get
it's
your
like
hopes up.
right, because then it gets dashed later on if it doesn't happen. Yeah, I've been there a couple times myself with certain things.
We all have. We all.
Yeah,
have.
it just sucks. So you kind of learn to
sucks.
like try to hold that excitement in, even though you know what I mean? You don't want to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I get that. So now is Ken looking to do as a movie or like animated or both or whatever?
Oh yeah, all of the above. There's been,
Yeah.
I had a discussion with him the other day about animation. I had a discussion with him about live action, both as a film and as a series, a streaming series. And this is the golden age for content creators because of the streaming media. There's an insatiable appetite and need for content, isn't there? Right?
Yeah.
So, what better time in the history of comic books and graphic novels could there be than right now?
Yeah, I agree. I personally think Zen would be great animated series. Like that's where I would picture it being getting the best reaction, I think, from people.
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be so fun.
I agree, but I have now. I will tell you, along with a director friend of mine, whose name I cannot mention for various legal and other reasons. I've written the Zen live action screenplay. Okay,
cool.
So Ken has that in his kit bag too. But again, in Hollywood here, you take a shot.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, and the thing that Zen has going for it too, it has the nostalgia factor with it.
Yeah.
Having been it didn't make it to animation, but it almost did. But it has a lot of merch too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's like action figures, there's video games, there's you name it. You guys must have had like lunch boxes and all that stuff.
Halloween masks.
Yeah,
Final
exactly.
model kits.
Yeah.
Prepaid phone cards.
Like the whole schmear.
Wow.
Notebooks.
And I think that's one of the things, though, right? Is Zen's one of those characters that, even if you don't read comics and you're not familiar, you could see him and go, "Oh, that's familiar. That's a comic book character." Like people kind of have that familiarity to it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you another story. You said I warned you that
No, it's fine.
Please, we're ready for it. We're here for it.
Okay, so we do the licensing deal for the toys, the Just Toys company with the 6 action figures.
Yeah.
And then later we could talk about the Konami, the 2 video games. But let's just talk about the toys for a minute. So the presumption was we were going to have an animated show by Ruby Spears, and so the Just Toys company gets on board. They make the toys, right? At some juncture, while the toys are being manufactured, we learn that Ruby Spears is out of business. And you see, you needed what they call the foundation media of like an animated show to push the sales of the toys, right?
Toys, yeah.
And they also say, "Oh man, we're up the creek here. We got toys coming out and no quote unquote foundation media." Okay, so nonetheless, the Zen toys go into, remember Toys R Us and KB Toys?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is, the late great toy retailers, right?
Yeah.
So here's what happens. So there's 2 little rows of Zen toys in the big long row at Toys R Us, right? And on the left of it is all these rows and rows of Batman. And on the right of it are all these rows and rows of the Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's like 2 little rows of Zen toys, right? And now I'm really nervous, right? So I go to the Toys R Us store near where I lived on Long Island at the time, and I talked to the manager, the store, said, do you mind if I stand at the end of the row and watch what's going to happen here? Because I didn't want to, like, there's what's this weird guy hanging out where, kids are and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, yeah, fine. I know who you are and all this stuff. So I start watching. I stayed there for hours, right? I start watching. Now, parents, were with the kids. It wasn't just like the kid, 6-year-old kid by himself in the store, right? So the parent, the mother or the father, and the little kids would just be walking down the aisle there, right? And here's what would happen. They'd look at the toy. They'd see Batman. They'd see the Turtles. And then they'd lock their eyes on Zen. I can tell you right now, it's because he was this blue dude, okay? And the kids, because the parents didn't know what the hell was going on, the kids would pull the parents over to the Zen toys. And there was something else that I came up with, an idea that the toy company went with. You may recall on the back of each toy of the packaging was a special Archie comic of Zen, okay? Collectible comic. So between Zen's blue nature and the comic book that they saw on the back, Zen sold out.
That's amazing.
No animation, no nothing other than the comic book. So again, these are the things that you can't plan them. You don't know what's going to happen, but that's what happened. That's why those toys sold out. There's some of them on eBay now.
That's great.
But that's a great twofer, though. Even as a kid, you'd want to go for the toy that also comes with a comic book.
Yeah, like He-Man did. Like He-Man did back in the day.
Or even McFarlane's original line of toys had
comics. Yeah. And I think Zen has such a unique look. Like the design is perfect. Like to attract a kid, because I know it always, like, whenever I saw the design, I always thought it was a cool looking character,
I was hoping you'd play the intro, your arcade intro of your. Because I love the '80s, like
the music,
the sounds in your Zen video game.
Oh yeah.
It reminded me of many different there's like the sounds or the sounds of the '80s, like Mission Control and Pitfall and like what else is there? Like there's a part in the video game there's like Spider-Man when he's like climbing up that wall. Remember the building?
Yeah.
It's like it reminded me of all those like different things into one game. It's pretty cool.
Well, the toys were tied in to the 2 video games from Konami, the NES and the Game Boy. And the third element was the Archie comic series, right? And they all had an environmental theme because that's what the people we were dealing with wanted, okay?
I gotcha.
Zen was not initially an environmentally themed character. But then the real world of business got involved, right? And when we started talking to the Konami people, when we started talking to the Archie people, the Just Toys people, they all wanted an environmental property. And that's when Dan and I got to work, created an environmental theme, new characters, and it worked out very, very well from a marketing standpoint. People to this day write to me about their fond memories of all of those 3 things, right? The comics, the games, and the toys. Eventually, the environmental stuff went away, and Zen is now basically a bounty hunter. That's what he is. Zen's a bounty hunter. It was a business decision. We decided to go along with it. Had we not done that, I guarantee you I would not be talking to you today.
Interesting. So that was like that all added to the character and made that more appealing, I guess, to audiences.
There have been a few, and there only a few critics who said, well, you did that for a marketing purpose. Well, hell yes, because if we hadn't done that, there would not have been the video games, it would not have been the toys, it would not have been the Archie comics. And so, again, I've been in marketing all my life, and I understood the import and significance of doing that, and I don't regret it for a day, because I still have people to this day who write to me fondly about that series.
I feel like that worked. That's one of those changes that worked for the character and the property, rather than against it. He already had the name Zen, so it's not much more of a stretch to add the environmental stuff. You know what I mean? And that's one of those changes that I could live with if I was the creator of it.
And it's still
and he's cooler than Captain Planet. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing too. It's like you look at Captain Planet. He had the weird mullet. He had the undies. His skin was blue. But then you look at a character like Zen, and you're like, oh, that's way more sleeker. And
that's still a huge topic nowadays. Like the environment. It's like we're all like, whatever. And Monday is Earth Day, so maybe we should nudge some of the these people that have your
plant a tree and bid on a Zen comic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's just like hey, listen, over time everything changes, nothing stays static. Right? And look how many comic book characters have died and then come back, including Superman, right? So you got to deal with reality, and you have to evolve or die.
Yep. And one thing I was going to ask you, Steve, like when Ruby Spears worked on the animated series, did they ever create like any of the animation at all? Like, did you ever see any like black and white animation?
I never saw anything. No.
I would love to see those character sketches and their, all their like, the stuff that they work on before they go into production. I would love to see that stuff.
I know.
Sheets and all
there
that.
Was
stuff.
Another company that tried to step in when the news came out that they were out of business, and we met with them, and then before anything could happen, DreamWorks bought them up, and then
forget about it.
But I mean, all of these experiences are amazing, and you just don't know where things are going to end up.
No, I hear you. I hate like hearing it was so close to happening. That would have been so great to see,
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, but I still go with the idea that there's still the field for Zen movies and animation and shows is completely open now, and that keeps me very active. I take meetings. It's a very interesting time to be doing this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I think now more than ever is a good time for Zen to kind of like reemerge and make a comeback in the more mainstream. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The nostalgia factor's there.
Perfect for it.
People love it. And like I was looking at we were talking about the video game. I looked at the price. Those are going for more than the comic. Like if you have a Zen Nintendo game still with the box, I think it goes for easily $500 or more or something.
No. $4,500.
$45. Oh my god!
So
I must have saw the one.
That's wild.
It's right on eBay right now for $4,500. Are you ready for this? It has sold for upwards of $7,500.
No kidding!
Wow.
Did you guys ever play the game, or
was the game good? Like it looked kind of fun from the. I
was watching. Yeah, right.
It's widely considered to be one of, if not the best 8-bit games ever.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It looked like it was it had all those tropes of the 80s games where you have to jump and there's like jump puzzles.
Platform game.
Yeah. But you also had the fighting stuff, which I think added to it. Very much like the Turtles game a little bit, a little bit like that.
Well,
but it looked cool. Like I never had that game, but it looked cool.
And the Game Boy, people still play that to this day. It's easier because they put it in the Game Boy unit. Whereas if you want to play it today, you can. It's been emulated. It's all over the internet. You can you can play the Zen game if you really want to.
Yeah.
I work in a used game store, like a used game store part-time used game store / comic store. I've never seen Zen come through the doors,
What about in those Atari games like 1001 games in the console? Whatever?
Oh yeah, in the one console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Retro-
we'll see Zen
retro
on
games.
one of those one of
Yeah.
these days.
It's kind of ubiquitous now. It's in a lot of different places, and I don't keep track of it. But if you just go on YouTube and type in Zen Intergalactic Ninja NES or video game, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh
Anybody
yeah,
can
absolutely.
I'm
watch
sure there's
it if
people
they
out there
want.
with speed runs. They
Yeah,
record
there
There
themselves
was. That's
playing
what
the
I was
game.
watching.
Yeah.
I was watching one of those
Yeah.
videos this week just to remember it, like I remember what it
Yeah.
looked like and everything. So yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's the goal, right, Johnny? I mean, like as creators, we want to get our comics into other mediums. Like I was close to an action figure deal for my book too, but like it just never. The pandemic kind of like ruined it, for me, and it was like kind of like what you were saying, where you felt like something was going to happen, and then
Well, you got to kick down the door sideways, like Steve did, where you got Neil Adams to do sewing
You got to
machine.
start a sewing
prints.
machine company.
Yeah,
Exactly.
whatever
like,
it took.
that's so
So
clever.
we gotta
I
bring
love that.
we gotta bring Singer back into mainstream. And then,
Yeah,
and
We got to bring Singer back to comics.
right.
Get the Stinger bullpen back together.
I'll tell you another interesting story that fits in here. Okay.
Yeah, I love
So,
that.
growing up, I was reading every comic book I could get my hands on. And one I really, really loved was Metal Men.
Oh yeah, I love Metal Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
great.
Metal Men was created and written by Robert Kanigher, and the characters were created by Ross Andrew,
Okay.
of the
Yep.
famous team of Andrew and Esposito, Mike Esposito being the inker. And I love that book. I love the look of it, right? I love the feel of it. Ross Andrew's art was distinct from everybody else's. So we're getting ready to do the deal with the Archie Company, okay?
Yep.
And I get a phone call from the president of the company. He says, Steve, would you like to have Ross Andrew be the artist on the Zen books? And I say, what?
Holy shit.
You gotta
Wow.
be kidding me. He says, no, Ross loves aliens, he loves Zen, and he's requested that he be the artist on the Zen books. I said, I cannot believe this. Wow. So I arranged to meet Ross and Mike at a diner on Long Island, right?
Oh my god.
And I go there, and I'm sitting across from them, and I'm shaking and sweating and everything because I'm sitting across from my idols, right? Mm-hmm. And they're about to work on my book.
That's
I can't even express to you what that feeling was.
Yeah.
And it turned out that Ross and I became very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
I was the last person to talk to him before he passed away. I spoke at his funeral. But so think about this. Say, I'm sure there's a few artists that come to your mind that, they're just like your idols, right?
Yeah.
To have them want to work on your book.
Yeah, I can't even fathom it.
Yeah. Well, again, these are things that happen in life. You just don't know where they're going to come out of the blue from, But it was an amazing thing, and we had like a 6-issue run, which was basically what was intended with the Archie books. And I worked on all of them with Ross and Mike.
Does Zen have a alter ego, or is he Zen full time?
No, he's just Zen.
Okay.
No duality here.
Okay. All right. Wasn't sure.
Oh wow, that's so cool. I didn't knew Ross Andrew worked on the book. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I was a big Metal Men fan too. I love that book. I love those characters.
Oh yeah, they
very
were
underused in the DC universe too.
Right, but they keep coming back though. They're back again. I just saw they're but again, not everybody can be overused.
Yeah, right. I like the what's the big dumb one? Was that Tin?
Gold, I think.
Oh, was it Gold?
He was Gold, right? Wasn't he like there was
There was gold.
Mercury.
They all had like, yeah, they all had weird names, like were based off of like elements or something. But
Exactly.
yeah, Tin I think was the big dumb one. I liked him the best. If I'm wrong, audience, you can point out which one.
I
Might
think
be
Tin
Platinum
was the
too. I
scrawny
don't know.
guy. Platinum was the beautiful girl, right?
Yeah, she was in love with Dr. Magnus.
Magnus, right? Magnus.
It was great.
Love
They're
those
supposed to be
characters.
making like a cartoon or something of that soon. Like I heard.
Oh, really? That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I know
I'm
they
sure
showed up
that'll
in
happen.
they showed up in the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon for a couple episodes, and that was cool to see. Yeah, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a great story, Steve. Did you work?
really
Did you end up working with any of your other idols on Zen at all, or?
Well, okay.
I mean, we know we got
the-
Bill here. Bill's like,
Well, of course, and Bill's a special case because Bill
I'm
is
special.
right brain, left brain. Bill is one of the few artists who I also entrusted to write several Zen stories.
Oh, look at
Bill's
that.
a very modest, unassuming guy.
One of
but
the
Bill,
only guys.
Bill does it all. Bill does it all, and
Awesome.
in his nearest series, he writes it as well as illustrates it, and it's good writing. I mean, Bill does it all.
Thanks,
And-
Steve. Thanks, Steve. You know, when we started publishing under Entity Comics, Steve and Dan allowed me to redesign the character from the Archie look because it was really geared for kids. It was really, it's just his body proportions and the way he was presented, and what I used as an influence more than anything else when I was redesigning the character was Dan's original character. Had Dan's original kind of like grungy, hardcore kind of like action, because those are the kind of black and white books that I was buying at the time. It's like I never bought like the kid friendly turtle books. It was always like those grungy black and white ones where Shredder was actually murdering people.
Yeah, the ones I like too.
and he wasn't necessarily. They weren't necessarily going up against a bunch of creatures that were more out of this world than the turtles were themselves. They were really just fighting like the Hand most of the time. They were fighting the ninjas. They were fighting Shredder, and it was like an inner city kind of adventure, the whole thing with April and Casey and that sort of stuff. But a lot of the books I bought back then were all black and white books. So the fact that, hey, Steve, you actually published it in black and white first is like, that was in tune with everything that was actually hot back then, so that was, it was actually perfect that you published it in black and white.
Right, and again, that decision was made strictly because of the cost. So again, it's just one
Happy
of these
accident,
things.
Like you
It's
said,
still the
serendipity.
case to this
better
day.
though in black and white. You know what I mean? You just like you color it and it's like, nah, it was better the other way.
Still the case to this day, though.
Yeah.
Like black and white's still cheaper, and like you said, Johnny, in some cases better. I remember too, like I was starting to pick up like indie books at the time, along with all my Marvel stuff, because there was so much of it happening there. I remember picking up like X-Mutant, and there was there was a book about Dracula that I really liked, and it was like I forget who published it. It was like 3 Dracula stories in the book. One
so
was
many
like
Dracula books.
Yeah, this one was good though. It was like there was like a Dracula in the future, Dracula in the present, and Dracula in the past. Those were the 3 different stories. I just remember it was great. I don't remember what that one was called. I'll have to research it. But I remember picking up a lot of stuff like that. X-Mutants. I'm blanking on some of the titles now, but there was a ton at the Turtles, Tick was another one.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
happening.
I remember buying it. I had to have each issue of the Tick. I was like, that was a required reading.
It was the first time I seen a die cut cover like that. Where remember was it the second issue that had the square cut out where it was just like
oh yeah, that's right.
Remember that?
That's right. Yeah,
it was like wild, and that happened up in our neck of the woods. That book, along with Turtles, actually.
Northampton. You would ask me just a couple of minutes ago about did I work with any other like idols? I don't know if the right term would be idols, but just want to see if you guys know. Do you know that Mike Mignola did a Zen cover?
No, I didn't know that.
I know that.
Oh yeah, that's
you can
tight.
see that
That's a
book
tight
on
one,
eBay. And
Wow.
did you know that Sam Keith did a cover?
I knew
cool. I
that one.
love
I knew
the
that
Max.
one. Yeah.
And,
Very
and,
cool.
And of course, one of the most popular books we ever did was the J. Lee Chromium cover book.
Jay
that
Lee,
Entity
wow.
covered. Yeah.
That must have been right when he was starting in the industry,
Starting
right?
out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So those books are hard to come by. And so there's a lot of Zen stuff that has become, quite collectible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
sure.
is so freaking cool.
Well, I was going to say, for what brings you to doing the campaign?
Yeah, like how, like
And-
was it
and
time
bringing
to bring
Zen back in this manner? Like, can you kind of bring us up to speed to kind of what motivated you to do this and bring on, do the campaign?
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
So Zen did his. This will take a couple of minutes.
No,
That's a
please,
lot of my stuff.
Please elaborate.
So Zen did his first ever in 36 years at the time last year, first ever Kickstarter last year. It was called L'Amour Supreme's Zen.
Okay.
And who is L'Amour Supreme? Okay. Again, I'm living on Long Island, mid 90s. I see this guy airbrushing T-shirts at the end of this corridor in the mall. And I look at the work and I'm stunned by it. Okay, just stunned. I go up and I introduce myself to the guy. I said, I got a comic book. It's called Zen. He says, Zen, I've been trying to find you. I said, oh, really? I like that. I said, his name was Joel Orbeta. Okay. And I say to him, hey, Joel, would you like to work on a Zen book with me? He says, yes, that's why I've been trying to find you, right?
I've been waiting for you. What?
So here's what happens. We do a 3-book series, a 71-page story called The Rawhead Saga, okay? And it's got 71 pages of his art, okay? Now, Joel gets out of comic books after we do this and christens himself L'Amour Supreme. He's now no longer Joel Orbeta, he's L'Amour Supreme. And he goes on to become a world-famous pop artist whose work has been exhibited in Stockholm, Berlin, Tokyo, and at a major gallery in New York City, right?
Wow.
And I reconnect with him, and I say, Joel, we're going to do a Kickstarter called L'Amour Supreme Zen. We're going to take this story, and we're going to publish it. Okay. Now I'm gonna grab it. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that figure.
This is the cover. Awesome. This is the hardbound book. Take a look at this.
Oh,
wow. Look at that.
Holy crap. Look at that artwork.
And there's 71 pages of this insane artwork in here.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're not kidding.
And
holy smokes.
And this becomes Zen's first ever Kickstarter campaign, right?
No kidding.
Wow. And that was last year. Obviously, it was successful. There's the book, right?
Colored by Bill Mouse.
Nice.
And Bill colored everything except the cover.
Except the cover, not the cover. Yeah, Joel. He's become a very, very popular street artist. He does like cool murals and stuff like that. Really, really cool stuff.
Very cool. So we do that. First Comics does that Kickstarter. It's successful, and we say, okay, we got to do another one. I said, well, I happen to be writing a new story. It's going to be 100 pages long, and I'd like Bill Mouse to work on it because he's the guy, right? Now, what is this story? The story is called Bounty Wars.
Okay.
And it's my exploration of what it means to be a bounty hunter. The origin of this book is as follows. Just a couple years ago, I did a story with Marat Michaels, who you may know, called Hard Bounty. Okay. Let me see if I have that. So what happens with Hard Bounty? Yeah, I got it. Hold up. All right. Here's the Hard Bounty trade paperback.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. That's a very different looking Zen.
Yeah.
It sure is, right? And just gorgeous art by
is good,
Marat.
too.
And Marat, has worked on things like Deadpool core for Marvel. Okay.
Oh, nice.
So we first issue it in 6 individual, floppy comics, regular issues, right? They basically sell out. Then First Comics prints the first printing of that book I just showed you, sells out immediately. They do a second printing, completely has sold out.
Oh, wow. That's
Now,
great.
Bounty Wars that I'm doing with Bill is the sequel to Hard Bounty. Okay? And as I like to describe it, it's like Zen and Nira X's biggest bounty hunting adventure ever. Okay. And that's how that came about. What the Kickstarter that's ending in like 4 days. It's already funded, and it funded, and we exceeded the first stretch goal, and we're heading towards the second, right? Yeah, that's right. So this is the first issue. It's a comic book. There's going to be 4 25-page issues, so that when it's all done, it'll be a 100-page story. And this is where we're at with 4 days to go.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad you guys hit. I mean, you killed the goal, which is amazing.
Congrats on that. Congrats on smashing that goal.
And I love that Nira X is in this big storyline too. That's great.
Absolutely. There's Bill. So that first cover you saw is Bill's standard cover for the book. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next one that comes up is Bill's wraparound cover, which I love.
That's beautiful.
And then now this cover, you know who that's by? Bill's daughter. The amazing,
this is Cat's cover.
The amazing cat mouse. Look at that.
Nice.
Iconic
That came out
cover.
great.
A lot of people are into this cover.
Killed it.
She killed it, right?
Yeah, she did a
that's
great
neat.
job. Wow, I like that one a lot.
And,
That's the cover to
here's
get.
another amazing cover by the amazing Thad Rhodes III. Look
Oh
at this.
yeah, okay, yeah.
And Bill, talk about the fact that is not AI.
This is not AI.
Wow.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. He's been a digital artist. He's been doing pieces like this for last 25 years or so.
Yeah, he did stuff for Don Chin, right? With
he's done stuff for
campaigns.
Don. He's actually done some other covers and posters and promos and stuff for Zen also.
You know what he did? He did this amazing Zen illustration years ago, right? I thought it was so astonishing. I sent it to Heavy Metal magazine, and it ended up on the back cover.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have a Zen image on the Heavy Metal? That's great.
Oh yeah. We had
fantastic.
Zen inside Heavy Metal too.
Very cool.
You know, it's like, who else has been both in Archie Comics and Heavy Metal? You tell me.
Yeah, talk about two separate ends of the spectrum, man.
So what I'm trying to say is Zen has range.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, there's lots of different audiences that there's an adult audience, that Zen can reach, and there's a younger audience that Zen can reach.
Yeah, no, that's great. And what I was going to suggest too, have you guys thought about doing, obviously not now because you got this new series out and everything, but have you thought about doing the Zenibus? Like put every issue of Zen into one volume of like a hardcover or something.
That would be cool.
I think you could jack up your car with that. I mean,
There's
there's a lot of books.
There's been like 100 issues.
Has it
I'll
really?
break your
Wow.
back.
You could do two.
You couldn't.
Zenibuses.
I was going to say, you couldn't do one omnibus.
There's the
You'd have to
name,
do at least
Zenibus.
two.
Zenibus.
The Zenibus.
Now I'm trying to selfishly, slowly push the idea of a billibus.
I like that.
Get the mousebus out there.
There you go.
Because we did quite a few books under Entity Comics, and now we're actually starting to add up quite a few books now with First Comics.
I got to get something else to show you guys.
Yeah, like I imagine you have all the books, right? You still have all the
get smaller.
files and everything, and yeah. So something to think about, because if you you got to think like the modern audience might not have this stuff,
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And that's the way that I collect books myself too. It's like if there's hardcovers that come out of certain things that I have floppies for, I would much rather have the hardcover on my shelf
absolutely.
to go through all the
If you
time.
go back up a little bit, you'll see that among the various offerings are these metal
Yeah, I
prints.
just passed.
Yeah,
that.
the metal.
Okay,
Yes,
there they are.
Oh, right here.
Okay,
Okay.
and
No,
above.
up
Okay,
one. Yeah,
so
right
let me
above.
tell you
There
something
you go.
about
There
these
you go.
ones, all right? Now, we offered metal. I'm going to show you one of these. How cool these are, right?
Okay.
We offered them as part of the Lemoore Supreme one. I'm gonna show you one, and also you'll hear how it sounds. Right? This is serious metal. You hear that?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
look at that.
Now,
That's real deal.
This is a metal art print, right?
Oh, I like that.
And by the way, I got to tell you something. You see this? You see this particular piece of art?
Yep.
This is by Lemoore Supreme, right? Because it was
Oh,
part of
okay. Yeah.
But let me tell you what this represents. This is the first piece of published comic book art ever by Lemoore Supreme. It was the cover
Oh,
of,
look
of
at
listen to this, of issue number 6A, okay?
that. Okay.
This is the cover. Okay. Now, 2 days ago, I'm looking over eBay because I check the Zen products that are there.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes I buy them, right? And if you go there and you put in like Zen Intergalactic Ninja issue 6A, which the cover of which I just showed you, is the very, very first published piece of comic art by Lemoore Supreme. It's on eBay right now for $5,000.
Oh my god. Well, I'm gonna have to look up this guy. I've never heard of him, but he sounds like he's a really big deal.
He's got, I think, like 70,000 followers on Instagram.
God.
So a few people have heard of him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
his artwork is really cool and striking and different. Like you said,
Yeah.
very graffiti-like, which I like, which is just lends itself to something like this. Really,
Right,
really
and-
cool stuff.
Very cool. So, it's like the Zen Juggernaut just keeps on going. Now we're going to have this amazing book by Bill and myself, and we're going to have the metallic prints and like cat. By the way, I'm writing a manga Zen story that I'm hoping
Oh, nice.
that Cat will work on with me.
Oh, that'd be great. Like, that's a great idea too. Like, try to tap that audience a little bit.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That would
this is
slay on
cool.
Webtoons right now.
Yeah, that's true. It would.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
people would eat
campaign
that up.
fantastic, fellas. Just
Thank
looking
you.
Yeah, it
through.
looks great.
Like, I like the offerings, the different perks, and of course, getting original sketches by Bill is always awesome.
Absolutely.
I like.
If you
the
had to
metal
recommend a
print.
tier, like for introductory, like say somebody is not familiar with Zen, what would be the tier that you could probably recommend for them to get on board?
Well, I mean, they gotta read the book, right? I mean, so at absolute minimum, you got to order one of the variants of the book, whether it's Bill's standard cover, wraparound cover, the Cat cover, or the Thad Rhodes cover. So an absolute, and that's like, $15-20 depending upon the particular cover. So it's not a huge commitment, but it allows you to become introduced to Zen and Nira if you're not already, right? Then again, like we have some amazing tiers. Like, for example, Bill, talk about the tier that sold out right away, the big one.
Well, the big one that sold out right away was basically the everything tier, but it also included the original artwork for the regular cover or the regular main cover. So it actually included the 11x17. There you go. It's like
I
the
see it right
$800.
here. Yeah,
the final boss tier. Yeah,
I like that.
and then the tier right before that, it includes basically everything that we're offering on the campaign.
Is
So
that
you
the
got
big boss tier?
Yeah, the big boss tier there.
That
So
sold out as well, right?
no. That one's still going. That's fine. It has everything. It's got the 3 metal prints. It's got the 3 small mini prints that'll come signed by everybody. It comes with a copy of every single one of our covers that we're offering. and also a 11 by 17 poster. So it's like the metal prints, the small, it's everything. And all of the physical tiers come with a PDF also. So I'll email everybody.
You get the digital.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah, and there's a print collection. There's something we call the mouse pack, which is like, all the stuff that Kat and I worked on together. And the two original sketches, those two original sketches, is one is by me and the other one is by Kat.
Oh, right here.
And one out of 10 of those sketches will be a sketch of Nira X as opposed to a sketch of Zen.
Oh, cool.
So we'll try to mix that in there a little bit. Be a little surprise if you get a Nira X
that's
sketch.
awesome.
That's
so
cool.
no, is Nira X part of First Comics, Bill, or is that just on lend from you?
This will be officially a crossover.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Gotcha. That's
Well,
great. It was a great
this
idea.
is where to scoop that. That's kind of an exclusive, right?
This is it. This is
there
what it
you
is.
go.
And
See,
then-
now,
and,
so that's what,
And the reason that it's meaningful to me, and I think to us as a group, is the fact that the fact that Nira is in the story at all. It's because Nira, her first appearance in comics was in Zen issue number 0 in 1993.
Gotcha.
Right.
So that's her origin. That's her origin story.
yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is the each issue what's the page count on that?
It's a 24-page story for each issue.
Okay, yeah. So that's a really
24 or 25. I thought it was 25.
It might
So
be
that's
25. It's each issue, like it runs over like a tiny bit depending on the script.
Yeah,
Right.
It'll be
So-
about 100. It'll be at least a 100-page story when it's all done. And I imagine at the very end, after all the 4 books are out, it'll probably eventually find its way into a trade paperback. I would
Right, yeah.
assume. I would assume.
It's perfect for that. Yeah, definitely. And I'm noticing too, like I haven't had doing shows this past year that my graphic novel, like I haven't had any graphic novels, but I have a new one, and those are selling better than the singles now. So I think graphic novels are a necessity now. If you do a show.
Yeah. Sometimes people like to get the entire story in one hit.
Oh yeah,
in
absolutely.
one- Right.
Is the trailer? Is it long? Is it short? Is it?
You can put it on. It's not
you know what?
long.
I think it's less than a minute. It's
Roll the
a short
roll
trailer.
Roll it, Keith.
All right, perfect. Yeah, we will. Let's do it.
Roll it.
Oh, awesome! What a great trailer.
That's
Good
awesome.
job, guys.
Short and sweet.
I love
Short
that.
and sweet.
Yeah, it's what we wanted, just something a little exciting, a little intriguing, and because at the beginning of the Lemoore one, I went on and on for like 20
did you
minutes
talk on it?
talking, I learned my lesson there.
Yeah,
I
I
don't-
like when you do a campaign video, it's got to be like a 45-second in the max kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotta be a sizzle reel.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Exactly.
That
What?
promo teaser reminded me like I don't know how you guys feel about it, like NFTs, things of that nature, but there's a website called Drip House, and that teaser reminded me of something you'd see on Drip House.
I'll have to check it
I
out.
got you.
It's check
Okay.
it out. Yeah, I don't know if you guys, some people they're not too keen or care much for the NFT stuff, but I know McFarlane actually launched on Drip House this week, which was
no
interesting.
way, I
'Cause
didn't know.
I
Yeah.
had not seen comics. It's a little bit like Keith, what Rob Feldman does on Theta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Well-
Drip, it's called DRIP.HAUS.
Oh,
And
okay, I got
McFarlane
you.
just launched it there. And I was just thinking, Bill Mouse on Drip House kind of has a nice ring to it, right?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, we had been approached by some heavy hitters in the NFT world, okay?
Oh, really?
And we were getting kind of close to doing a Zen NFT offering when the bottom fell out of the market. So we didn't do it, right? But I've been hearing that it's coming back and it's not going away.
Yeah, there's an underlying niche audience for it, like there is for any type of collectible
Right, exactly.
thing.
It just had to even out. It had to settle.
Exactly.
It's like you build a new house and it's got to settle for a minute and find out who's actually excited about it and who's not and this and that. See where the market settles in on it.
Yeah. I was shocked to see McFarlane pay attention to this little like NFT project on the corner of the internet, So
I'll have to see if it's doing well. Of course, it's McFarlane, so you would expect, it might very well do well,
Yeah, we're checking out, taking a look at.
Right.
But this campaign looks great, guys. Let me share the link here as well. If you guys are watching this video tomorrow, definitely check the description of the video. It'll have the link to their Kickstarter, or just go to Kickstarter and look up Zen Bounty Wars.
Zen Bounty
find
Wars.
It right up. Find it right away. Are you guys planning more after this miniseries? Are you planning more Zen down the road, Steve?
Well, listen, because of the way Kickstarter works, right? Once you conclude your campaign, you can't start another one until you fulfill all the orders. Because of the printing time and turnaround time, what this actually means is Zen Bounty Wars is going to take somewhere close to a year to play out.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah.
And with the 4 issues and the minimum of a month or two to fulfill because of the printing and all that stuff. So I can't think beyond that.
This, yeah.
But nonetheless, in the next week or two, I'm going to finish the script for Manga Zen, which I'm really enjoying writing, and seeing if we could do that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it will be a Kickstarter, okay? But I am working on that. And but Bill, it's one thing to write a story. Say it takes me, 3 hours to write a story, or 4 hours. That's going to take a month for Bill to draw.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Minimum.
So I could be writing stuff way ahead of everybody, the artist, but that's just the way it works.
Now, Steve, on working on the manga version of Zen, can you talk a little bit about writing Zen for a completely kind of different type of comic
format?
Yeah, well, exactly right. I mean, I look at manga as I look at it as like it's a genre.
It's a genre, yeah.
I've written Zen.
But it's actually a different kind of comic, though, too, right? Because are you writing it backwards? Is it the backward style?
Well, I'm writing it the way I would write manga.
Okay.
Which means it might not be a purist's idea of manga, but it's Steve Stern's Zen concept of manga.
Sure.
And of course, it's the way panels are. There's usually less panels on a page in a manga book. It's of course in black and white. So I take all of that into account, plus the content of the story. The content, I've read quite a bit of manga over the years, and all I can say is the book is squarely in the manga genre, if you will. Of course, there's many subgenres of manga, but ours is in the action adventure subgenre of manga, and the art, of course. I know that Kat would knock it out of the park. She's so talented, right?
Yeah, she is. She's a really good artist. I don't know if I've ever seen her do anime stuff though. Bill, does she do that a lot?
Yeah, her stuff kind of like leans more anime. It leans more manga than it does like traditional, like Western, art.
Yeah,
gotcha. That's just where she leans that way, like naturally. And then she's got. I mean, if you go to her, you can go to her website. It's just Cat Mouse Art, one word, catmouseart.com. But she also does lots of other. I mean, she oil paints, and she's got such range that I'm sure I'm out of a job. But
You'll be
you know,
able to
she's
retire one
she's
day,
my
though.
retirement plan. So it's,
Yeah,
she said I could live on the property for free as long as I could like load the dishwasher.
I don't have
or
any
something.
kids, so I have no retirement plan. I just got to keep writing forever.
I got lucky with the one. Amazingly, I've
crowdfunding.
actually kept her alive. So so kudos to me.
Good
Yeah.
thinking.
Right on.
Well planned.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, gents, we've been going for an hour and almost 40 minutes now, so I guess I'll
Yeah.
start to wrap up.
I
know I don't want.
warned you that I'm very garrulous about
I love it, Steve. If you want,
Steve, it's been awesome, man.
we'll dip out and you can continue talking to the audience if you want.
No, I gotta eat dinner now.
I know. No, hey, we loved having you on.
Just gonna leave Steve all by himself here, just talking to the audience.
Yeah,
I've been awake
more
for
stories.
Harry, Johnny, you guys are awesome. We come
thanks,
back
man.
anytime you would like. You guys are amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate
yeah, absolutely,
that. Thank
Steve.
you.
And,
Nice meeting
Doors
you.
always open.
before we start closing things out, did you guys have any social media stuff that you wanted to shout out, or?
Yeah. Well, I primarily my Instagram is Stern8506.
Okay.
Somebody set that up for me years ago. That's how I got that weird thing. But it's Stern8506, and all of the promotional stuff and informational stuff about the Kickstarters there. And there's also a great Zen Intergalactic Ninja Facebook group, which you just
cool.
go to the groups. It's Zen Intergalactic Ninja. That
I think I
Josiah.
friended you on Facebook, so
Good.
Maybe in the
Josiah-
year 8506, Zen's doing some other cool things in the future.
8506. We're looking forward to it.
Zen.
Bill, what about
I
yourself?
like that.
You can find me at billmouse.com, right there on the old name tag there, so that way I'm just easy to find. All my social media links are there. I've got an online store that's there. Actually, I should say thank you, because the stuff that was on the store is sold out, so I appreciate you guys.
really?
I'm rotating some more things in and out of it.
sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like I'm switching from one host to another. I'm switching over to Squarespace, so like everything's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
'Cause Gumroad kind of like takes a big chunk out of things when you're selling stuff. So I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll start a Squarespace store instead. So, but anyways, yeah, billmouse.com. That's where I'm at. I'm most active on my Facebook page, and my Facebook link is right there on my
website.
And I have a Facebook page too. I think it's Steven Stern, and I got Twitter, Steven Stern. Whatever. You can find me if you really want to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta have it all nowadays,
I got to be at all the places.
You gotta be in all the places.
You have to at least lock down the name so nobody's posing as you. That's
Yeah,
really the key
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, that's
right.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Harry, Johnny, anything you guys wanted to add before we
Harry?
start
I'm
things
just trying
out?
to catch up and sleep because I've been up for 20 hours straight now.
Have you
Yeah,
been
really,
really?
man.
Oh my
Oh
god!
my goodness, dude.
We're gonna sign off. You're gonna tip over.
Pretty much. So
Well, I just wanted to take a minute to thank Bill and Steve for taking time out of your day to come on the show, to share Zen with us,
Thank you.
to hear the history of the character a little bit through you guys. And we really appreciate you taking the time. And again, the door is always open for you guys to come back and talk more about Zen, talk about the other projects you might have, you bring to the table.
Cool.
Wonderful, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for your support, your interest, and we'll be back with you, I'm sure.
it was
Yeah,
nice meeting you.
absolutely.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
want to thank you guys both too for coming on the show as always. And
Yeah. Thanks, Keith.
anytime, doors open for you guys. Just
Thank
shoot
you.
me an email. We'll find some time in the schedule to get you guys on.
It was really worth staying up for. Really.
Cool.
Thanks again, guys.
I don't take that for granted, man. I know how important sleep is. Sleep is like that's my number one hobby.
I know. We all hated it as kids, but now I love it.
Yeah.
It's gonna roll. Harry's gonna hit the floor. He's be down and out.
I'm gonna do the Hammer Valentine faceplant. And
Right. And before we close out, I just want to remind everybody too that we're back with 2 episodes again next week. We got the Brandon Blocksdorf on Monday from the Comics Wellspring podcast. Looking forward to talking to him and
That'll be
finding out about that whole thing. And then Hades from Any World One on Wednesday, who's also got a Kickstarter. So we got a lot of exciting creators making product now. One thing I wanted to mention too about Kickstarter before I close out. I saw an email yesterday. They are finally doing the keeping the campaign open after the
like an in demand.
They're doing like an in demand. They're calling it
Really?
something like late pledges, I think is what the name of it is. I saw an email.
I have to look into it. Yeah,
there was
they
a
got to be
beta
competitive.
testing.
So yeah.
Is that
All right,
retroactive? Can I reopen Surrounded by Death?
Yeah. Well, I got an email. I don't know if it's rolled out yet. The email said, sign up for the beta or something. So
okay, it's brand new.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's going to be a game
cool,
changer for crowdfunding because that's the one thing Kickstarter doesn't have over all the other guys, So now once they get that, that'll be huge,
That'll be huge. But
That'll be a big deal.
Indiegogo has their built-in audience, though. So again, I think the last episode we were talking about the importance of a second chance campaign on a different platform, and I think that's a testament to that. It's like just cool that Kickstarter is doing that.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's like you're going to pull all of Indiegogo over, right?
Oh no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's just
it's
just an additional feature that you feel good about.
I want to be
good
able to my campaign. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, it's opening more
somebody stumbles
opportunities
across
for
it.
people. Absolutely. It's,
all right, cool.
This is great support for creators, and it's welcome. It's a welcome development.
Yep.
Awesome.
But in the meantime, people should back Zen Bounty Hunter now on Kickstarter.
Thanks, bro. That's right.
Yeah, throw it right up here on the chat here. So
Bounty Hunter Wars, that is. Yeah,
right in the chat. So just cut and paste that link and go right there and order yourself a copy.
Please do, my friends. Our lives depend on it. And so does your entertainment.
Exactly.
Thanks again,
on that
fellas.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. All right, everybody. Have a great week and read some comics. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.